Hello, spooky friends, and welcome to another episode of the Scariest Podcast, the Pastatime episode of the Scariest Podcast.
Woo!
I'm Robin Grace's Sam Diaz.
Hello.
And today we're here with some pastas, some creepy pastas, not the delicious kind that I totally would eat right now.
Creepypastas are the wonderful stories that have been posted on the interwebs or mailed directly to us that are fictional, short, most of the time, horror stories. So if you have a creepypasta that you have read at places like the SCP Foundation, or of course where the namesake comes from, Creepypasta, or various other spots on the internet where you can find short horror fiction, and you would like to say, hey, y'all should read this one, or if you have your own that you have written and you would like us to read it on the show, Robin, where could someone send that?
You can send it to our email, pastatime@scariest.com, or you can go to our website, which is scariest.com. There's a contact us page. You fill that fun stuff out, and then you send it to us that way.
Indeed. However you would prefer to send it, we would love to hear from you.
Social media too. We got that.
All that fun stuff. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I will say we're going to be reading 4. One of them is from our wonderful community, and it is actually from Claire, who sent in one, I believe the last time we read, that we really enjoyed. We were kind of puzzling over what the meaning of the story could be because it's a little bit nebulous. They reached out after they heard their story read. They were very excited, and they gave us some information. So I'm going to read you some of the information about the first story, and then I'll jump into the second story that they sent. Because they told us they would send 2, and they did send over the second one. So this is the response that we got to reading the story the first time. It says, thank you so much for reading my story. I missed it live, but watched the recording. I appreciate it so much and love how you guys bring my words to life. Oh, thank you. I think I read that one. If you'd like some clarification on what was happening. When I wrote it, I was imagining someone literally running through the woods after crashing their car, leaving bloody handprints on the trees. They crashed because they saw something in the woods for just a flash of a second, and once they crashed, this thing began hunting them. This thing hunts by trapping its prey in an altered reality where things adapt to make the prey feel safe, which is why the room kept changing.
Okay.
Once they realized something was wrong, the jig was up, and everything crumbled around them, and they started running away again. Had they stayed in the room, they would have sat in the chair until they died. The idea was no food, no sleep, only chair. They did end up getting away, as evidenced by the 3rd step they took at the very end, whereas in the beginning they only took 2 steps.
Okay.
I think we did notice that. But I love Robin's theory of the woman in the chair being the character's reflection. I kept it vague because I wanted to see what theories you guys would come up with, and I felt like this story worked best to me in a stream of consciousness style. I have another more straightforward story. I'll send it in another email, which I am about to read.
I'm glad that my theory was cool.
Good stuff. I really enjoyed that story, so I'm excited for the next one. And this next one has the preface of, here's that other story that I promised, but I think this one is much straightforward than the last one. My goal with everything I write is to create an atmosphere more than a plot, and I think I succeeded with this one. I will put a slight trigger warning for gore, but it's really not that bad. I'll leave it up to you to include it if you think it warrants one. But without further ado, here is Some Party. All right, so this one's called Some Party. And it goes like this. As I walked through the garden, I took in the sight of the chaos from the night before. The trees were now decorated with toilet paper, and there was trash growing where there should be flowers. Slowly, I opened the back door and wondered aloud how it had gone so far. I was met with silence. It was all supposed to be a joke, a good time, but now everyone was gone, and the sound of some liquid trickling off of the table mocked my words. I've had parties like this where you just wake up and your place is completely fucking trashed. I remember I had a party one time and people were like, can we throw Jell-O shots at the wall? And like, it's the stupidest thing you could ever think someone could ask you.
Why?
But because I was stupid and young and drunk, I was like, yup, go nuts. So I woke up and I was like, oh my God. All right, continuing on. As I made my way through the house, the floor creaked deafeningly, as though it could barely hold my weight. It felt like a warning, and I know now that it would rather have fallen out from beneath me than let me continue. The floor was still sticky from the events of the previous evening, and my shoes clung to the boards, begging me not to continue, to turn around and leave the way I came. Looking down, I pulled my foot up from the gluey hardwood and took a cautious step forward. Someone had been sick in the hallway just feet from the powder room. There were new stains on the walls, which I swear, this really sounds like something that happened in my apartment. There were new stains on the walls, which I prayed were from spilled drinks.
Not Jell-O shots.
Some party. The hall opened up into a large living room. Everything was in disarray. Chairs were toppled over, the sofa cushions had been strewn about, and empty cups and bottles littered the corners. I made my way through the clutter towards the crimson carpeted stairs. It was funny though. I had been here all night, but I didn't remember the stairs having carpet at all. With each sickeningly tacky step, my stomach churned as I recalled the night before. It was good fun for a while. Friends of friends, all came together for one evening of joy. A celebration of new beginnings. Music, games, laughter, and so many people. Everything had gone so well, but after a few drinks, people change. I remember mumbled goodbyes as I left and promises to see each other tomorrow, but it seemed that tomorrow only came for one. And now I was left questioning what I would find past that top stair. Downstairs the air had been stale and sour, but up here it was thick and heavy with forceful exertion. The dense carpet continued through the hall before slinking beneath the bedroom door. Someone had walked this path before me. Their footprints beckoned me further. I didn't want to take another step. I couldn't. What awaited me behind that closed door? I called out. No answer. As if possessed, I took another step forward and gently pushed the door open.
Oh, God.
Once I had, I wished it was still shut.
Everyone's dead on the other side.
I wished I had stayed downstairs. I wished I had listened to every part of the house screaming at me to leave. Inside resembled the scene downstairs, except the chairs and tables were replaced with what remained of my friends, and hastily butchered human flesh took the place of cups and cans. It looked as though the room had recently been painted, but such a horrid shade. The claw marks on the door told me that it hadn't been swift. I fell to my knees and wailed. The crimson leached from the floor onto my clothes. The only thing that could drown out my cries was the sound of sirens drawing nearer.
And you're going to be the one that they're going to blame.
But was this person the one that did it?
Ooh.
Is my question. Because that was the end. Pretty solid. Everything up until the room filled with bodies was so similar to many nights that I woke up in my apartment. The bodies were usually disposed of the night before, and you never want to get blood in your house. So,
see, my parties, as an adult,
parties. I'm putting them in quotes. There wasn't even any murder there, Robin.
No, it was everybody bring their laptop or their computer or their Xbox.
Those are different parties that I also used to have.
LAN parties.
You don't drink around your PC? You don't want to dump water on something like that?
I've drank around my PC.
Wow, unbelievable.
Bacardi 151.
I mean, we had lots of LAN parties. We also had lots of parties, and sometimes they definitely got out of hand. I had a friend who literally used wrapping paper at a Christmas party as a blanket, and he slept under the table because he literally was drank under the table. It was astonishing. I still have that picture somewhere of him. When I woke up and found him there, I was like, are you fucking kidding me right now? But yeah, stuff happens. I'm thankful I've never woken up to a murder scene, so I really wonder if this person was actually the one responsible for the murder, because I feel like there needs to be a sequel to that story because I have so many questions. But either way, thank you so much, Claire, for sending that in. We sincerely appreciate it.
Just too many questions.
Too many questions.
All right, so my next story is actually kind of long. There's like photos that go along with it. You guys can't see.
So strap on!
But yeah, but I will read it's all dialogue, so I'll just read you guys the dialogue. But this one is from the No Sleep subreddit, and it's called...
No Sleep Till...
Well, the title is My Dead Girlfriend Keeps Messaging Me on Facebook.
That's way worse than that song.
All right, so it begins. Tonight's kind of a catalyst for this post. I just received another message, and it's worse than any of the others. My girlfriend died on the 7th of August, 2012. She was involved in a 3-car collision driving home from work when someone ran a red light. She passed away within minutes on the scene. We'd been dating for 5 years at that point. She wasn't big on the idea of marriage. It felt archaic, she said. Gave her a weird vibe. But if she had been, I would have married her within 3 months of our relationship. That's so romantic. She was vibrant, the kind of girl that would choose dare every time. She was happiest when camping, but a total technophile too. She always smelled like cinnamon. That being said, she wasn't perfect. She always said something along the lines of, quote, if I cark it first, I'm assuming it means kick it, don't just say good things about me. I've never liked that. If you don't pay me out, you're doing me a disservice. I've got so many flaws, and that's just part of me, end quote. So this is for M. The music she said she liked and the music she actually liked were very different. Her idea of affection was a side hug. She had really long toes, like a chimpanzee.
Yuck. All you finger toast people out there gross me out. I'm just saying.
You don't.
I have hammer toes.
I
They're
was gonna
disgusting.
say, you
Finger
got
toast
some
people are much more elegant.
Disgusting big toes.
I'm just very jealous. I had a cousin who could smoke a cigarette with her toes. It was weird.
Ah.
Have you ever seen Keith peel and eat a banana with his feet?
Yes.
It's fucking terrifying and also super impressive.
All right. It continues.
I'm talking about Keith from Try Guys, not some guy named Keith that we just happen to know.
All right. Continuing on. I know that's tangential, but I don't feel right discussing her without you having an idea of what she was like. On to the meat. M had been dead for approaching 13 months when she first messaged me. So September 4th, 2013, she died on August 7th, 2012. I had left Emily's Facebook account activated so I could send her the occasional message, post on her wall, go through her albums. It felt too final and too un-Emily to memorialize it. I share access with her mother, Susan, meaning her mother has her login and password and has spent a total of approximately 3 minutes on the website or on a computer total. After a little confusion, I assumed it was her. Let me click on this real quick. So in the first picture, it's just her messaging hello. And he goes like, who is this? It's really weird getting messages. And then they don't reply. And a few minutes later, they just say hello again. So it's real awkward. It's like, what is going on? This is real weird. So on November 16th, 2013, 2 months later, I had received confirmation from Susan that she hadn't logged in to M's Facebook since the week of her death. M knew a lot of people, so I instantly assumed this was one of her more tech-savvy friends fucking with me in the worst possible way.
I would be furious.
Yeah. I noticed pretty much immediately that whoever was chatting with me was recycling old messages from M and my shared chat history. Okay, so let me read you the message first. So 2 months later, she goes, hello, let's hit up, and then it's scratched out.
Redacted.
This Sunday. And so he goes, who the fuck is this? And she goes, the wheels on the bus. So apparently, the wheels on the bus comment was from when they were discussing songs to play on a road trip that never eventuated. And then the phrase hello got typed in a whole bunch of times. Around February 2014, so the next year, Emily started tagging herself in my photos.
That's creepy.
I would get notifications for them, but the tag would generally always be removed by the time I got to it. The first time I actually caught one, it felt like someone had punched me in the gut. She would tag herself in spaces where it was plausible for her to be, or where she would usually hang out. I've got screenshots of 2 from April and June. These were the only ones that I've caught, so they're a little out of the timeline I'm trying to write out. Okay, so let's click that open. They're just like...
I mean, it looks like there's a face in that closet, just saying.
It does, but like it's, you know how you can tag people on Facebook with the white square, right? It auto selects usually. But it's a space that if they were taking a photo together, she would be standing there or her face would be right there.
But instead it's just blank space.
But it's just a
like
blank space, which is terrifying.
It's like when your phone, when you're using that like face swap thing, face swaps you with something that's not there, like with the darkness.
It's terrifying because it is a picture where it's like she would be sitting there. Or
it's a person that's basically in half the frame of a picture, and then there's empty space on the other side, and then like, of course, the empty space has the tag frame,
yes.
But it's empty.
Right. Around this period of time, I stopped being able to sleep. I was too angry to sleep. She would tag herself in random photos every couple of weeks. The friends who noticed and said it was a fucked up bug or something, I found out recently that there have been friends who have noticed and didn't say anything. Some of them have removed me from their Facebook friends list. So I'm sure something's going on there that they would go through the trouble of removing him for some reason.
I would guess they think that he's the one that's doing it, since he's one of the only people who have access.
Okay. At this point, some of you may be wondering why I didn't just kill my Facebook profile. I wish I had. I did for a little while. On days when I can't get out there, though, it's nice having my friends available to chat. It's nice visiting M's page when the little green circle isn't next to her name. I was already socially reclusive when M was alive. Her death turned me into something pretty close to a hermit, and Facebook and MMOs were and are my only real social outlets. So, on March 15th, I sent what I assumed was M's hacker a message, and in this message, it just says, "Why are you doing this? Why do you keep tagging her?" And on March 25th, 10 days later, they received an answer. So it's just her going, "Hello, hello, 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 hello," which is terrifying. And then he's like, "This is actually devastating. I don't know why you enjoy doing this." And then she goes, "OMG, cinnamon scented candles." He goes, "Go to hell." And then she says, "Why are you doing this?"
That's weird that she returns the "why are you doing this?"
Yes. Because to me, I think if it was her ghost, right? She's like, "Why are you telling me to go to hell? I don't understand," you know? So she's like, "Why are you doing this to me?"
If it's her ghost, it's weird that she'll be saying such weird and awkward things,
yes.
though, you know?
But if she's like trying to speak from the other side,
what, she has her diction mixed up?
And
Do you think
no, it's like
it's
so hard to say anything, and that's all you can get through. You know, I don't know what it is like being.
I don't
think
that's the case. That's not what it sounds like to me. Maybe there's no QWERTY keyboards on the other side, and some weird like arrangement, so you don't actually know what you're typing.
It wasn't until I was going over these logs a few months later that I noticed she was recycling my own words as well. Okay, which is the "why are you doing this" thing. My response seems kind of lackluster here. I was intentionally providing him or her with emotional quote-unquote bait. This is actually devastating to keep them interested in their game. I was working off the assumption that the kind of person to do this would be the kind of person that would thrive on the distress of others. I was posting in tech forums looking for ways to track this person, contacting Facebook. I needed to keep them around so I could gather quote-unquote evidence. Before anyone asks, yes, I had changed the password in all security info countless times.
I was wondering that, but I didn't want to shit on the story. I'm glad he tossed that out.
16th of April, I received this, and what they received was Emily saying, "We should make our own jam." And then, "Jesus fucking Christ, Samantha," and then, "Nah, different. No chance of passing. No chance of passing. How many? Garage side door. No chance of passing." It's fucking weird.
This seems like it's going to be associated with how she died.
Oh, I got chills when you said that, dude. I hope that's not the fucking case. That's fucked up. This seems like word salad, like all our conversations so far. It's recycled from previous messages she sent. So the 29th of April, a couple weeks later, she goes, "Baked beans on toast. I don't know. I just said, yo, ask Nathan." And it goes, "Nathan, Nathan, Nathan." And then he goes, "I don't know what's happening. I don't know how you're still doing this. Please stop." And then she goes, "Please stop. I don't know what's happening. Nathan, I don't know what's happening." I have fucking chills. It's terrifying. I hadn't discovered any leads. Facebook had told me the locations her page had been accessing from, but since her death, they're all places I can account for. My home, my work, her mom's house, etc. My response here wasn't bait. "Yo, ask Nathan" was an in-joke. Too lame, worth explaining, but seeing her say it again just absolutely fucking crippled me. My reaction in real life was much less prettier. I'm not expecting my bond back. Her last few messages had started to scare me, but I wouldn't admit it at this point. And then the 8th of May, a week later, she just types in -12, -15, and then "my jumper's in the dryer and it's really cold out, cold. Cold. Nathan, please stop. I'm cold. Freezing. I don't know what's happening." It's just terrifying. Okay. Freezing is the first original word she's made. This has given me nightmares that have only started to kick in recently. I keep dreaming that she's in an ice-cold car, frozen blue and gray, and I'm standing outside in the warmth screaming at her to open the door. She doesn't even realize I'm there. Sometimes her legs are outside with me.
That's weird.
It's getting fucking weird. It's
been weird already, but it's getting super weird.
So 24th of May, couple weeks later, he goes, "I'm really drunk. I miss you. Whoever's on this account, I don't give a fuck. I keep coming home from work and expecting to see you at the computer. Shouldn't I be used to that by now?" Emily said, "Just let me walk." Oh my God. I have a feeling they fought or something like that. Oh God. Okay. It continues. "I wasn't actually drunk. She wasn't an affectionate girl, and it always embarrassed her to exchange I love yous, cuddle, talk about how much we meant to each other. She was more comfortable with it when I was boozed up. I got fake drunk a lot. Her reply is what prompted me to finally memorialize her page, thinking it might help curb this behavior. It might seem innocuous compared to her previous message. It's pasted from an old conversation where I was trying to convince her to let me drive her home from a friend's. In the collision, the dashboard had crushed her. She was severed in a diagonal line from her right hip to midway down her left thigh. One of her legs was found tucked up under the back seat. Fucking what? Ugh, that's rough. August 7th, 2012. So this is going back in time to around when it first started, right? No, that's when she died. So he goes, hey, you on your way home? Emily, when you see this message, please ring me straight away. I rang so-and-so and they said you left at 4. I'm starting to panic. I feel sick in my stomach. Please ring me. Emily, answer your phone. Oh my God.
He said Emily twice. I feel like that's important. Okay. I feel like these might be replies to all like unread messages. Like that she's going through like one at a time. That's why there's random spots where she's just like, Nathan, because he said Emily.
Oh my God. Okay, maybe. Okay. I have chills right now. These are logs from the day she died. She was usually home from work by 4:30. This, alongside a couple of voicemail messages, is the last time I talked to her under the assumption that she was alive. You'll see why I'm showing you these soon. So, 1st of July, 2014. She goes, hey, you on your way home? Emily, when you see this message, please ring me straight away. Please stop. I rang so-and-so and they said you left at 5. I'm starting to panic. Please stop. Cold. Emily, answer your phone. I don't know what's happening. Cold. Freezing. So it does seem, like you were saying, like it's the opposite, right?
Well, they were saying Emily too. They weren't saying Nathan that time though. So this is weird.
Yeah, it's strange. So I memorialized her page a couple of days after I received the message about walking. Until today, she'd been quiet. She wasn't even tagging herself in my photos. I don't know what to do anymore. Do I kill her memorial page? What if it is her? I want to puke. I don't know what's happening. I just heard a Facebook alert and I'm too afraid to swap windows and check it.
The end.
That's fucking terrifying, dude. It's a good story, but I was like, chills, man. Like, just imagine if that was you, right?
That's a good point. So here's what I'd like to do after this story. I want to do two things. One, if this was you, would you have deleted the Facebook page up to this point or at this point?
I think I would have wanted to just leave it. You know, I would have wanted to leave your Facebook page up too. But if stuff like this kept happening, I would delete it.
I thought if someone was messaging me through it, I would probably delete it because my memories of you will live in my brain. You know, it's like Facebook is great for everyone. But at the same time, if it was like this weird and this creepy, I would delete it to see what was going to happen next. My second question is, what would you want to be done? Because like they said at the beginning of the story, like, don't say just nice things about me. Remember my flaws. Like, do you have specific instructions? I know you've told me some of them in private.
Forgot. What was the thing that I told you the other day that was so stupid and ridiculous?
You told me you wanted to be cremated, which was the important thing, which is what you tell me all the time.
Don't play that stupid fucking song at my funeral.
The Boys to Men song?
God.
It's so hard to say goodbye. Will be on loop 24/7 when Robin passes away.
No, it's so stupid.
So as for me, I want one of two things, and I'll let you choose.
You want to be buried under a tree?
I either want you to have a huge thing for me, bring everyone in. Everyone needs to be as sad as possible. Anyone who's ever heard my name before, I want everyone there. Mm-mm. Or I want you to delete every piece of evidence that I ever existed. You'll probably have to have Garrett help you out. I want him to edit me out of every episode of Scary-ish.
No.
Make it like you hosted the show alone through creative editing. You only introduce yourself. I'm not even there.
This is not, I want everyone to be like, did he
ever actually exist? I demand it. I will put it into a living will.
No.
So, right on. That was a creepy fucking story, though. Definitely a lot of effort put into it with the pictures and the fake text messages that they created for the story. So either way, good work, good stuff.
Yeah, I really like this story. I just wish I knew what would happen after, you know? Like, I want to know. I want to know what keeps happening. Tell me.
It's a sign of a good story. So before we move into our next story, we are going to take a really quick commercial break. And we're back. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get into my second and my last, but the third of the 4 creepypastas we're going to be reading for this episode.
So unnecessary.
And this one's called Too Early to Trick or Treat.
It's never too early to trick or treat.
I have not read this one yet. I just saw that it was called Too Early to Trick or Treat, and I'm like, fuck, yes,
when did you used to start trick or treating?
October 31st.
No, in the day.
Oh, probably when the sun started going down after I got home from school, probably around 5 or 6.
Whoa,
so I'm pretty sure trick or treating ended for us around 7 or 8. So we trick or treat for 2 or 3 hours at most.
I feel like we used to trick or treat for so fucking long.
It feels like that because you're walking, but you're also collecting candy, which is fucking toy. All right, Too Early to Trick or Treat is the name of this. It starts out like this: I'm in desperate need of help. If anyone is reading this, could you please give me some insight? It would be greatly appreciated. I'm aware that some or most of you may be hardcore horror fans like myself. That's why I'm coming to you with a serious problem.
You can eat that next candy bar you have in your hand. It's okay.
I've always been a fan of horror. I always enjoyed a good jump scare or a creepy feeling that kept me up. However, what I've been going through for the past 10 years is something I can't understand. I'm a 40-year-old man. I'm happily married, and I have 3 children who all go to different universities. Every year, my wife and I would get extremely excited around the fall season. The reason for that is particularly because we both love Halloween.
Nice.
We would always spend a good few grand on decorations and
not
candy.
So nice. Too much. No.
I feel like this was written by a kid.
Yeah, that's too much.
That's way too much money on decorations and candy.
You can set up for Halloween with maybe a couple $100 that's for decorations and candy.
Also,
that's even buying that 12-foot tall skeleton.
Yeah,
does not cost $1,000.
I also like to point out they're 40. They have 3 kids, and they all go to different universities. If you math that, you were fucking and having kids. You had like your first kid like 18 or 19.
Because
unless your kids are dropping out of high school, taking their GED,
so if
and
you're
somehow
40,
getting into college.
You got 3 kids in college.
Not trying to shit on your story or anything.
I know, but it's like, say the youngest kid is 8. You'd have to have one that's 18, 19, and 20.
Maybe you got a kid that's 17. Maybe you got a kid that's 14 that's a super genius. Either way, you're only fucking... I'm 36, man. I have no kids. This does not ring true for me. All right, I'm going to keep going. The reason for that is because they love Halloween. They love spending money. Okay. We were known as the go-to house in our neighborhood for scoring a motherload of delicious treats.
The one year Adam bought full-size candy
big dog
bars.
The whole neighborhood.
No one showed up.
No one showed up.
No one came
to
so we had
trick-or-treat.
buckloads of full-size
80 full-size candy bars. And now I'm 20 pounds heavier. Go figure.
Yeah, I was like, I'm pretty sure we ate them all.
All right. However, as I mentioned, something strange occurred 10 years ago. One night, my wife and I were enjoying a little quality time together. Wink, wink. It doesn't say that. When we got an unexpected knock at the door. I answered it and was nearly knocked off my feet from the sudden scare. When I opened the door, I was greeted by a large person in a yellow rabbit costume. They looked like a mascot. At further examination, the costume was a little unsettling. The head of the costume contained massive cartoon eyes and ears that were quite long. The whole costume was pretty impressive. It looked like one of those full-body costumes you couldn't just find in a store. I think there's a furry at your door, dude. It was like one of those suits you would have to pay a pretty penny for online. The bunny held a small jack-o'-lantern bucket in his hands. He proceeded to hold it forward without saying a word. This is where the problem comes in. This happened in the early part of September. As you can imagine, we didn't have any candy to give the poor fellow. I didn't want to be rude. I thought this just could have been a confused person. There was no way it was a child. The person was huge. They had to have been at least 6.5 feet tall. I'm sorry. It's a little bit too early for treats. Why don't you come back in October? We'll definitely have something for you then, I said. The bunny simply looked down at his empty bucket, turned his back, and skipped along down the street. Naturally, we found the situation quite bizarre.
It's a little too late for Easter, a little too early for Halloween.
This is true.
It's just confused, a little lost.
This wouldn't necessarily be a cry for help if it ended there.
Oh, okay.
The next time, it was in late December.
What?
Snow was practically pelting down on the town. That's when we received a knock at the door. I answered and was greeted by the bunny-suited individual again. The suit looked visibly dirty, as if it hadn't been taken off in who knows how long. The funny thing is, this person never came to my house on October 31st, not a single time. I tried to be nice again and told the person there was no candy. I also told him he should probably find some shelter from the blizzard. There was no way I was letting him in my house.
Yeah, smart.
Yeah.
Don't let strangers into your house, especially those dressed as bunny men.
Or children with black eyes.
Oh, yeah.
The next time it happened was in the middle of January. At this point, I was quite frankly getting a little bit irritated and uncomfortable. I even informed the local authorities of this guy. I could legally say he was harassing me and my house. All these years, the police never came up with anything. I let this go on for 5 years before we decided to move.
What?
One time, I even answered the door with my gun and threatened violence. Apparently, that didn't intimidate him in the slightest.
Did they not get one of those Ring cameras that can just...
show you who's at your door?
Yes.
Did you not get one of those things called a fucking peephole so you stop answering the door? After we moved about 2... Peephole's a really weird name for that, by the way. After we moved about 2 miles...
You're peeping into the hole.
I know. It's just like... It should be called a creep hole. Let's be real. No. After you flip it around, it's called a creep hole.
What?
Your peephole, flip it around. There's an episode of Seinfeld where Kramer's like, I have nothing to hide. I always want people to know if I'm home. I'm going to flip my peephole around so I have a reverse peephole so people can look into my apartment.
What the fuck?
I'm just saying it should be called a creep hole. Okay.
Oh my
For a few
God.
months, nothing happened. Until one day, I got a knock at the door. I didn't think it would be him because everything seemed fine. We didn't have any problems for a while. However, when I answered, it was surely the costumed rabbit person again. His costume was completely filthy. I could see large accumulations of dust and spider webs. I could even see little spiders crawling over his body. It was as if the costume was beginning to rot. No matter how many times I threatened violence or snapped on the guy, he would always come back. This is what I need help with. A few days ago, he came back. I was reluctant to answer the door. Why the fuck are you still answering the door?
Just don't answer the door, call the cops, and wait for the cops to show up.
He goes on, it never worked before anyways. This time when I answered, I could see splats of a dried red substance along his mouth and torso.
Oh, shut.
I just wanted this encounter to be over with, so I reached into my pocket and handed him some peppermints. Surprisingly, he shook his head to say no.
You gotta put your hand up to his mouth and then he'll just chomp it like it.
I have to admit that I'm stupid. For the first time in 10 years, I asked him the question I never thought to ask. What do you want? You've been dealing with this fucking thing for 10 years and you've never asked this guy what he wants. You threatened violence with a gun first, but you never asked him what he wanted? Okay, let's keep going. His body went still for a few seconds. Then he extended his bucket towards me and gestured for me to look inside.
It's a head.
I nearly vomited at the sight. Inside his bucket, there was a heart.
Oh, no.
For my own conscience, I chose to believe it wasn't a human heart, but I have doubts.
Depends on the size.
In an act of defense, I punched the bunny right in his face. His soft cotton head went flying into my front lawn. What I saw then has kept me up ever since. Under the mask, there was nothing.
He's Alphonse.
There was no person. It was just empty. I looked over in the yard at the discarded head. I swear for a split second, I saw the head blink. The eyes blinked. Before I could even process what was happening, the body ran towards the head. It picked up its head and ran at an inhuman speed. It should have hopped away. Let's be real. That'd been hilarious. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to deal with this. I could honestly use some help. I've gone to the police. I've gone to my kids. Everyone thinks my wife and I are crazy. Those are some pretty shitty kids. I'm desperate for help. I'm afraid that my life and that of my wife are on the line. Why? Because this morning something was written on my front door. See you on Halloween for one last time.
Move further than just 2 miles away.
Just use your fucking gun. I'm taking that as a threat. We've already decided that we'll be leaving town for Halloween. I don't know if it'll matter. Will it find us like it did the first time? Why is it coming for us? What the hell even is it? If anyone has any solutions or answers, please let me know. Halloween is quickly approaching. We're running out of time. And if a big yellow rabbit comes to your door on Halloween or any time, slam the door in its fucking face. So, okay, this one was written by HoodQuest. Thank you so much, HoodQuest, for writing that. If a big yellow rabbit comes to your door, please remember that this is a fictional story and you do not want to strike a child or a grown-up in a big yellow costume. However, if this whole thing was real, I would have assaulted this rabbit way earlier than 10 years later. I would also have asked it what it wanted way earlier than that. And if I saw that there was nothing in the costume, I mean...
He should have looked inside the costume, at the back of it, seen that there was an alchemy symbol made with blood, and then wiped it. I hate you
so much. I hate you. I would just recommend using many different weapons to try and assault this thing. I would prefer a flamethrower in this case. I mean, if this bunny exists and you have all this fucking money to go out and buy thousands of dollars of decorations and candy each year, you can afford a fucking flamethrower, let's be real. So I think that would be the best. Kill it with fire. That's going to be my advice for it.
Okay.
Pretty good story. Thank you so much for writing that. HoodQuest one more time.
All right. So the title of this creepypasta is titled, I Didn't Have a Voice Until You Read This. I didn't have a voice until you read this.
Congratulations. You're welcome.
Let me explain. I was voiceless, but I still existed. We all did. We've been here ever since the first men peered fearfully out of their caves into the deep, still darkness beneath a moonless sky and thought, what could be hiding out there? Us. We were. I've been with you since you were a child. Remember those times when you woke up in the night inconsolable, tears streaming down your face until the grown-ups came and reassured you? There's nothing there, they'd say. There's nothing to fear. They were wrong. It was me. Under your bed, in the wardrobe, under the stairs. It was always me.
This sounds like that little speech the devil gives in Impossible Planet.
Impossible Planet?
From
Doctor Who?
Doctor Who. It's because they find like this impossible planet that shouldn't exist that's like suspended perfectly outside of a black hole, where if anything happens to it, it'll fall into the black hole. And it's the prison for like the ultimate evil. And so Doctor Who is like, you know, which one of the religion's bad guys are you? And the thing is like, all of them. So, okay, continue.
I'm with you now, constantly. Your fears bonded us forever. When you see that flicker of movement out of the corner of your eye as you walk home alone on a deserted street at night, when you hear that creaking floorboard just outside your bedroom door as you cower under your blankets, the prickling sensation on the back of your neck as if you're being watched when you could have sworn you were by yourself. It's always me. It always was. I'm not a demon. I'm not a ghost.
That's exactly what a demon ghost would say.
I'm not a monster. I'm not a monster or some creeping boogeyman. My kind are what we are. You may have heard of the Tibetan tulpas being summoned into existence through sheer force of will and concentration. I suppose that is the closest that man has ever come to finding a term that describes me and my kin. We come from belief, too. That irrational fear of the dark, the terror of the unknown, the horrors that tiptoe through your nightmares and return suddenly without warning during the waking hours, filling you with dread. You know it's silly to be scared. You chastise yourself, face flushed, tutting and sighing, chiding your rogue imagination for such fanciful and nonsensical behavior. But you do it again, and again, and again. There's a part of your brain that won't be told otherwise. Maybe that's what keeps us here. Or maybe we're the reason it won't ever be quiet. Which do you think it is? I know. Just like I know that your mind is the world's greatest gift to us. Until you started to read this, I didn't have a voice. Now, as your treacherous consciousness speaks these words aloud inside the confines of your mind, it's my voice that you're hearing. It seems strange to me. Not the voice I would have chosen, but it's the one with which your fear has bequeathed me. The voice that haunts you the most, the tone most likely to cause you to shiver and break into a cold, helpless sweat, has become mine because of what we share. And we shared a lot, you and I, a whole lifetime. Every single day. I'm watching you now, studying you as you stare nervously at your glowing screen, praying that its light will be enough to protect you from the things in the shadows, because I think I might be the first of my kind to realize something about the way things are between us. I watch you all the time, even when you're sleeping, stood at the foot of your bed, gazing down at you. I know when you're thinking of me. I hear the whimpers and the gasps. I see the involuntary jolts and shudders, and I smile. You're picturing me doing it, aren't you? Go on, imagine me standing there in your room, my shadow looming over your prone, terrified body, my wide grin showing my glinting teeth in the moonlight. Thank you. Before you did that, I never had a face. Now you've given me one, the face of your darkest phobias. I like it. It was the only face I could ever have worn. In the short time it's taken you to read my story, you've already given me a voice and a face. I wonder what gifts you'll bestow upon me tomorrow. Maybe in time I'll be able to touch you.
A dick for a nose. You're welcome. Everyone's picturing it now.
Squidward. Just
Would you rather have a
imagine,
dick for a nose or a vagina for a mouth? You decide.
just imagine my hot breath against your ear, my icy fingers on the nape of your neck, my teeth and claws sliding into your trembling, yielding flesh. Thank you. Oh, what fun we're going to have.
When he talked about his hot breath and his icy fingers, like, that was nice for a second there, and then he had to go and talk about stabbing me with his fingers.
I don't even want to hear about hot breath against your ear because you hate it.
I don't. It's because you're violent. You're like,
No. If I get anywhere near here, look at this shit.
I flinched because you beat me. Everyone knows that. Everyone who watches sees it happen all the time.
I will fist punch you.
Fist punches. Robin calls punching because she's creepy and adds a sexual element to everything.
How is fist
I will
punching?
fist punch you. What other kinds of punches are there,
I know,
Robin?
but, like,
a
how
foot
is
punch
that
is called
sexual?
a foot punch is called a kick. The fuck is wrong with you? How is that not sexual? I'm gonna be fisting punching you.
I didn't say you're saying fisting. That is a you problem.
You said fist. That's also a verb. Just saying. It was a good thing. It was a good story. I think a lot of people are really into this. Like, I don't exist until you read that I exist, which means that the story wouldn't exist. I do think that everyone has just sort of a normal fear of the dark. And also the funniest thing about the story's premise is that you're encouraging people to stop reading it. So, all right. Anyways, credit to SP Hickey for writing that. So thank you to everyone who listened to this 18th episode of Pastatime. It was a very good time. I enjoyed our stories. If you have a story you would like us to read, or if you have a story that you have written that you would like to send us, you can email pastatime@scarish.com. You can also hit us up on facebook.com/scarishpodcast. If you want to go to our website, it is scarish.com. Click on contact us. You can fill out that form. Let us know of whatever it is that you want us to read or the story that you're trying to send us. That'll come directly to us. And then you can check us out on any of the social medias. Twitter is @scarishpod. And Instagram is @scarishpodcast. We would love to hear from you. Robin, for folks who would like to donate to us, how can they do so?
You can go to patreon.com/scarishpodcast. Those are monthly donations. Tiers start at $1. At $1, you get ad-free, which, as Adam would like to say,
Ad-free is the way to be.
And if you're not into the monthly donation type thing, you can also go to coffee, ko-fi.com/scarishpodcast. And those are one-time donations. We're really thankful for all the donations you folks have sent us over the years. We couldn't be here without you.
It's very true. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for the folks that watch live. You guys are all amazing, and we appreciate you from the bottom of our hearts. That is everything we have for this Pastatime episode. So Robin, go ahead and sign us out.
Keep on creeping on, and we'll talk to you guys later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.